Open social media in 2026 and you'll meet a new villain. Seed oils. Canola, soybean, sunflower, corn. Influencers call them toxic, inflammatory, even poison. Some say they're slowly destroying your health. You'll see hashtags telling you to throw the bottle out. So are seed oils actually bad for you? This isn't just a comment section squabble anymore. In 2026, even the dietary guidelines became a battleground. Headlines argued over butter, beef tallow, and seed oils. Old kitchen fats were suddenly framed as heroes again. Nutrition turned tribal, and people picked sides. But the loudest claims and the science rarely match. Let's untangle the panic from the evidence. First, what even is a seed oil? It's oil pressed or extracted from plant seeds. Think canola, soybean, sunflower, and corn. They've been in kitchens and packaged foods for decades. Cheap, neutral tasting, and good for high-heat cooking. That's why food companies use them almost everywhere. Check your pantry. One is probably in there right now. But the key question is what they're made of. Here's what surprises people. Seed oils are mostly unsaturated fat. Mostly omega-6, some omega-3, plus monounsaturated fat. These are the fats heart guidelines have favored for years. Not the saturated fat in butter and beef tallow. So the fat being demonized is the kind experts prefer. On paper, that profile looks like a point in their favor. So why the fear? It comes down to three big claims. The case against seed oils rests on three pillars. 1. A high omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. 2. They supposedly cause inflammation. 3. They're industrially processed and refined. Each sounds alarming on its own. Stacked together, they feel like an airtight case. So let's take them one at a time. The first claim is about balance. Modern diets are heavy in omega-6, light on omega-3. Critics say this lopsided ratio drives disease. The pitch: ancestral diets had a tidier balance. The fix, they argue, is cutting omega-6 entirely. It's an intuitive, satisfying story. But intuitive stories aren't always what the data show. And the ratio claim is shakier than it sounds. The second claim uses the scariest word in wellness: inflammation. The idea: omega-6 fats fuel chronic inflammation. Linoleic acid, the main omega-6, gets the blame. The theory: it converts to inflammatory compounds inside you. It's a tidy chain of cause and effect. On paper, the chemistry sounds plausible. But your body isn't a chemistry diagram. Hold that thought. The third claim is about how they're made. Seed oils are refined, often with heat and solvents. Critics say industrial must mean unnatural and harmful. The imagery of factory pipes feels worlds away from food. Being curious about processing is fair. But processed and poison are not the same word. Even olive oil and water are processed in some sense. So let's see what the research actually found. Before the evidence, one idea ties this all together. In toxicology, the dose makes the poison. Even water can harm you if you drink gallons at once. But a glass with dinner is simply hydration. The amount and the context decide the effect. Calling a food toxic ignores how much and how often. Keep that lens on as we read the studies. Now, what does the actual research say? The evidence is largely reassuring. Unsaturated fats can improve blood lipids, glucose, and insulin. Major health bodies favor unsaturated over saturated fat. Picture swapping butter on toast for a little olive oil. Swap butter or tallow for these oils, and risk tends to drop. In most evidence, that swap links to lower heart disease risk. Remember the inflammation fear? Here's the test. In controlled trials, people ate more linoleic acid. Then researchers measured inflammatory markers in the blood. Generally, those markers did not go up. Results were mostly neutral, sometimes even favorable. The body doesn't simply convert it all into inflammation. Only a small fraction follows that feared pathway. So omega-6 inflames you doesn't hold up well in humans. And what about the omega ratio claim? Eating more omega-3 is genuinely smart advice. But the fix is adding omega-3, not fearing omega-6. Cutting omega-6 doesn't automatically make you healthier. A single ratio doesn't capture a whole diet. Overall eating patterns predict health better than one number. The tidy ratio story is just thinner than it first seems. And the processing fear deserves a fair answer too. Refining can strip some nutrients from the raw seed. That's a reasonable, modest downside to note. But the refined oils are what the trials actually tested. And those results still pointed the reassuring direction. Refined didn't translate into measurable harm. So the factory imagery scares more than the data does. To be fair, this isn't a total slam dunk. Getting more omega-3 is still genuinely good advice. Nobody should be guzzling oil straight from the bottle. Frying anything in any fat all day isn't healthy. And nutrition science always has open questions. But the core fear is far bigger than the data supports. So why did 2026 feel like a turning point? The 2025 to 2030 U.S. Dietary Guidelines arrived in January. Some read them as newly blessing butter and beef tallow. Suddenly, headlines declared the seed oil critics had won. Social media treated it as official proof of the panic. But look closer at what actually changed. Here's the timeline that headlines skipped. First, in 2024, a scientific advisory committee met. Their job was to review the underlying evidence. Then in 2026, the official guidelines were published. Science came first, the messaging came later. Those are two very different steps in the process. Confusing them is where the spin crept in. Here's the part that got lost in the noise. The 2024 Scientific Advisory Committee reviewed the evidence. They reaffirmed unsaturated fats over saturated fats. The long-standing scientific guidance stayed the same. What shifted was the politics and the messaging. The science didn't change. The story around it did. If the oil itself isn't the villain, why the suspicion? Because there's a real pattern hiding underneath. Fears usually stick when they contain a grain of truth. And it's the most important part of this whole story. It's not about the molecule. It's about the company it keeps. Seed oils are everywhere in ultra-processed junk food. Deep-fried snacks, fast food, packaged treats. Chips, cookies, and baked goods lean on them too. So heavy seed oil intake tends to track with poor diets. People eating tons of it often eat lots of junk overall. The oil gets blamed for the company it keeps. It's a textbook case of guilt by association. The fries are the problem, not just the oil in them. Picture the same bottle of canola in two kitchens. In one, it deep fries a basket of frozen snacks daily. Greasy, salty, eaten in front of the TV every night. In the other, a teaspoon tosses a vegetable stir-fry. Same oil, wildly different meals and amounts. The bottle didn't change, the diet around it did. That gap is what the panic keeps missing. Now, compare that to normal home cooking. A drizzle of canola to sauté your vegetables? That is likely not the disaster you've been warned about. Same oil, completely different role in your diet. Whole food context is what really matters. A little oil in a healthy meal is just a little oil. So here's the honest verdict. Seed oils are not the poison social media claims. But the panic is also racing ahead of the evidence. The real concern is a diet built on fried, processed food. Context and whole foods matter more than any single oil. Olive oil and variety are great choices too. So what do you actually do with all this? Takeaway 1. Cook more meals at home. That single habit dodges most ultra-processed food. It's the food around the oil that matters most. Whole ingredients beat any single good or bad oil. Takeaway 2. Lean toward unsaturated fats. Olive oil is a fantastic everyday choice. Canola and other seed oils are fine in normal cooking. Add omega-3 sources like fish, walnuts, and flax. Variety, not fear, is the smarter strategy. Takeaway 3. Be skeptical of single villain stories. Nutrition is rarely about one molecule to fear. Viral panic loves a simple enemy. Bodies are complex. Watch the whole diet, not just one ingredient. The big picture almost always beats the buzzword. One important note before we wrap. This is general information, not medical advice. Your needs may differ, especially with health conditions. For personal guidance, talk to a doctor or dietitian. Science evolves, so stay curious and stay open. So, are seed oils actually bad for you? Based on the evidence, they're not the poison you've heard. But don't let any oil excuse a fried, processed diet. Eat real food, mix your fats, ignore the panic. If this helped, subscribe to Calorierecipe for more myth-busting.